the wristband he forgot to return, the night the gallery's after-party lit our names. At 9:18 p.m., the silicone loop blinked in my palm like an iris. I'd fished it from the pocket of his black jacket, the one he wears when the city owes him a favor. Thin, matte, mercilessly modern, it pulsed soft blue with every second breath I took. A white stamp near the clasp kept trying to tell me who it belonged to, Astor after. He'd left at 8 with a careful kiss and a tried-and-true alibi. Wrap toast. Then notes with Etienne. Don't wait. Etienne is sound. He carries microphones like small animals with delicate tempers and listens like air that's already paid rent. The cinnamon thing in the oven was trying to make the apartment smell like a good choice. The light climbed the wall in obedient squares and refused to narrate me. We once gone to the Astor together. The gallery is a cathedral that understands invoices. Its after-party is a private floor with couches that prefer discrete verbs. The wristbands unlock doors and by virtue. When you hold one, the room decides if you deserve mood lighting. The blue pulse in my hand told me I did not. His phone vibrated on the counter, remorseful. A banner flashed and died before I could scold myself into looking away. I tapped it because every bad idea deserves formality. Your tab at Astor After is open. Beneath it, a polite list. 2 glasses of water, a small plate of almonds, a line broken in half so I had to tilt the screen to see it. The name of the playlist someone had asked the room to become. Velvet Hour. I put the wristband on because sometimes dignity means using the same language as the crime. The clasp warmed and the diode kissed my pulse like a fingerprint that had been waiting for permission. In the elevator, my reflection spelled something I didn't want to read. I watched the letters refuse to bargain. The night had picked a temperature and stuck to it. I preferred that. The gallery's main floor was still cleaning itself of expensive noise. Women carried art out of rooms as if it were fragile when the fragile thing was every man in a black jacket pretending to be a wall. The host at the velvet rope looked at my wrist, watched the blue bloom, and nodded me toward the staircase that turns gravity into taste. Upstairs, the after-party wore its manners like a good jacket. The bar glowed like an apology with a sponsor. The couches had the ethics of rumor. I saw him from the corner of the room where people briefly try not to be seen, shoulders squared to a man who understands microphones and the cost of silence. Etienne's profile is a thesis on patience. My partner, Seb, stood soft, the way he only gets when he's decided a room might forgive him before he needs it to. His jacket was open, his mouth half committed to sincerity. The wristband blinked on both their arms like a line the room wanted to read aloud. "Aaron," he said when he saw me, my name pronounced like a receipt. "Your band invited me," I said, because humor is the leash I use to keep panic from bolting. I held up my wrist. The soft blue made everything look like permission. Etienne didn't apologize. He did the better thing. He set his glass on the rail with both hands and stood as if rehearsal had taught him how to be furniture when the scene didn't belong to him. "I can give you to the floor," he said, voice controlled to a perimeter. He glanced once at the camera pearl near the chandelier and chose the stair to the terrace, not the door to the lounge. Logistics over theater. "Not here," Seb said, eyes following the same pearl. He tipped his head to the terrace because the city's air forgives differently than the room. We stepped into a rectangle of outside where string lights auditioned for intimacy, and the river pretended to be a solution. He leaned on the stone and let the city make his breathing visible. "I lied when I left," he said. He doesn't waste adjectives when he intends to be correct. Rap happened. People did their best grammar on goodbye. I wanted 30 minutes where being interesting didn't have to pass inspection. Etienne asked a question with no words. I mistook that for permission. Did you touch him? The question is a cliff. There isn't a scenic route. You count to one and make your mouth earn its keep. Yes, he said. Once I brought my mouth. Wind tried to organize his hair. He didn't let it. He stopped it. He told me I was saying the sentence in the wrong room. I stepped into him because cold is a sin I can fix. I lifted 2 fingers to the soft inside of his wrist where men keep their apologies and felt his pulse write my name there without permission. His eyes closed like doors designed for hands. Under my palm at the small of his back, where his body keeps its best arguments, heat had already bought a ticket. My hand remembered the route. You like wanting that proves something kindness can't, I said. I didn't make it cruel. Cruelty is lazy precision. You treat intimacy like a sport and honesty like off-season training. You like to coach, he said, the corner of his mouth trying on a better room, which is unfair and also why we still have furniture. What do you want? I asked. Right now, not the apology you drafted for daylight. He stepped into the inch that becomes a lie if you respect it too long. Heat moved through cotton like a fact that didn't need votes. He spoke close enough that punctuation found my lower lip. I want to go home, he said. I want you to want me where our towels remember us and desire doesn't need a wristband. We didn't kiss under the camera that pretends to be a moon. We're messy, not stupid. I put my thumb at the hinge of his jaw, the place truth keeps the spare key, and let the string lights take a hint. Back inside, Etienne had become absence with admirable precision. On the bar, 2 waters waited as if they had been paid to be innocent. The wristband on my arm pulsed like a small regret. I unclasped it and left it on the counter next to a little bowl of almonds that looked like a metaphor trying to improve itself. We walked the long way home because stairs are better than elevators at escorting bad ideas out. The cinnamon had kept faith beyond the call of sugar. We ate it at the counter with our fingers because forks would have lied. He leaned into the drawer that sticks, the posture that means he's willing to be moved and wants me to be precise about where. I slid my palm under his shirt and found heat like an address that still prints both our names on the mail. He tipped into me, gratitude giving him weight and accuracy. We were careful in bed, not the kind of careful that kills heat, the kind that knows where to fold it so the room doesn't have to testify later. He knows where to set his hand on my ribs so the rest of me turns without issuing a press release. I know where his shoulder hides when it runs out of brave, and how to coax it into telling the truth with weight and breath, and a mouth that has stopped trying to rescue him and still wants him. I won't choreograph it for you. I'll tell you the room remembered to breathe, and morning forgave us because it had other work. We slept like people who aren't finished. Light shouldered the blinds with the confidence of a suggestion. He made coffee the way he does when he wants me to listen. The gallery's app lived between us on the table like a witness with no jurisdiction. Next to it, the wristband, inert, a loop that had lost its battery and its argument. He started with small truths because small truths keep larger ones upright. I liked the way he listens, he said. I liked feeling like quiet was a verb. I wanted to be wanted by a room that didn't remember our rug. He spun the wristband once on the table like a coin refusing to pick a side. He didn't want to be the sentence I was trying to say. He told me to go home. Do you want to be here? I asked, not letting the grammar escape to safer tenses. Yes, he said, to be boring with you on purpose, to be the heat where the towels remember us, to be a man who uses rooms but belongs to one. We made boring plans because boring is how you keep lives from becoming memorabilia. We unsubscribed from the gallery's afters and told the app to forget our faces. We put the wristband in the junk drawer with the promise to use its battery for a remote and never for a body. We wrote a rule on a sticky note and stuck it inside the cupboard where mugs audition for mercy. If one of us wants 30 minutes from someone else, call it a craving, not a crisis. Walk it near the river. Spend it on pastry that bullies your mouth out of metaphors. It isn't romantic. It's maintenance. It's oil for the hinge that keeps the door from learning to shout. 2 afternoons later, I ran into a Tian under an awning that smells like ambition and lemon, the city's favorite lie. He gave me the nod men use when they've chosen to be furniture on purpose. He didn't apologize and I didn't deputize. We stood beside a poster promising rescue in 98 minutes. "I'm not waiting for thanks," he said, the authority of a man who calibrates silences for a living. He kissed me once. I told him he was saying the sentence in the wrong room. I want my bed for sleep and his mornings to belong to you. "You could have said nothing," I said. "You could have invented worse," he answered. "This makes both our lives cheaper." He looked at the street like sound becomes visible if you're patient. "You don't need my testimony, but if it steadies you, nothing worth deleting happened." "It steadies," I said, and found the floor again. We didn't become friends. We became men with a shared interest in someone else's better choice. There are worse coalitions. A week later at 9:18 again, as if the hour had applied for tenure, the gallery emailed a new invitation. "Because you loved Velvet Hour," across the room, Seb lifted his phone with a small, honest smile that moves furniture. "Play Dishwasher," he told our speaker, the code that means white noise when we have run out of narrative. The machine obliged with water and hum, a river with a union. On certain nights when the city forgets to be clever, his mouth finds mine with the urgency thunderstorms claim, and the patience laundry requires. We stay just on the lawful side of the line because good heat doesn't need choreography to be true. When it's done with us, when we are done with it, he rests his palm where my back keeps its heat like a bookmark that always opens to the right page. Sometimes the app still sends smug summaries. Scenes used, none. Music, none. Time spent, 3h6m, I don't trust them. I trust the square of light at 4 when it climbs our wall like an idea that finally put on shoes. I trust the bowl that catches our phones like obedient coins. I trust the clumsy battery in a dead wristband, patiently waiting to be useful somewhere it can't pretend to be a key. If an object ever tries again to blink us into a story we didn't consent to, if a room auditioning for intimacy asks my pulse to be its password, I know the script we intend to prefer. I'll look at him, and he'll look at me, and we'll decide, quietly, domestically, with the stubborn mercy of people who keep choosing, to side with our kitchen over the bar, our chipped mugs over someone else's glassware, this particular door learning, over and over, to open from the inside. 2 small footnotes, because lives adore encores. First, I changed his contact from Seb to Seb, home. Hyphens don't do miracles, they perform administrative grace. When my hand forgets itself at 3:17, the dash persuades it to put the phone down and reach for a person. Second, I kept the band, the dead loop, the small blue mouth that once pretended to grant admission. Not to punish us, to mark the hinge where our evening swung. A tidy circle proving that access is not belonging, permission isn't love, and 2 men who are stubborn enough can choose a kitchen where the only sensor that matters is the one under my palm at the small of his back.